Suburb Intel are hints, indicative, dot connecting and or previous covered confirming pieces. Now, the first piece is came up this week was the 2019 Miss World America Michigan winner, Cathy Zhu, was stripped of her title because of comments she made on social media about Muslim women and also black people, she said. Now, one of the Twitter posts read, "Do you know that the majority of black deaths are caused by other blacks? Fix problems within your own community first before blaming others." That statement is a fact, and it has been highlighted on this show. Well, facts, you see, get you in trouble in the way of other agendas. And the other statement she made, there is a try a hijab on booth at her college campus. And she said, "So you're telling me now that it's just a fashion accessory and not a religious thing? Or are you just trying to get women used to being oppressed under Islam?" Now, that was posted on World Hijab Day back in 2018. Again, this is something that's been covered in this show, and again, a fact that it's a pure fact that women in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia are being heavily repressed by fake cultures and fake religions. That is fact. And this is another example, and I'm going to keep repeating it because they're going to keep doing it and forcing us into hating on each other, the divide and conquer programs that are being ran by the mainstream media. Now, for those that don't know and wish to shout white racism, Miss Zhu is one of the yellow race, not white, who actually told the truth. And I, for one, welcome it. And many more should try it instead of being falsely offended by everything. That's kindergarten level thinking, and it will help no one. It is a fact that black deaths are caused by black people. That is overwhelmingly in the majority. And women are being oppressed badly, not only under Islam, but right across the Middle East and the Kalimar region. There is a reason behind it, and From Russia With Love covers it. This is taken from an excellent summary by Tyler Durden of Zero Hedge. And a derivatives book of $49 trillion puts Deutsche Bank in the same league as the bank holding companies of US juggernauts JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, which logged in at 48 trillion, 47 trillion and 42 trillion respectively. Now, this was at the end of 2018, and they are official figures according to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Imagine what it is now. And what people have to understand is when Lehman went under, clowns had lots of assets, cash flow, bailouts and leverages to dig themselves out of the hole. Now they don't. It's that simple. And I hope you all understand the gravity of this situation and act accordingly. Repo rates in China in this past week went up 1,000% in one day. That's all I'm going to say. Announced today, the US federal government is resuming executing death row inmates after a 16-year hiatus, and the Justice Department announced it today. Attorney General William Barr said in a statement that he had directed the Bureau of Prisons to schedule the execution of 5 inmates. Now, Mr. Barr said that the 5 have been convicted of murders and or rapes of children or the elderly. Now, these executions have been scheduled for December 2019 and January 2020. Indicative of policy of future events? Time will tell. More hideous operations exposed. The evidence came out after this particular biological resource centre was shut down, but new court documents this week detail the hidden horrors that investigators found inside, and this is going on in all the biological resource centres, wherever they are. Now, former FBI Assistant Special Agent Mark Swinya testimony says he observed, quote, buckets of heads, arms and legs inside the building off 24th Street and University Drive. This is in Phoenix. Now, Swinya said that he saw a cooler filled with male genitalia, body parts piled on top of each other with no apparent identification to indicate what bodies they came from, and even a torso with the head removed and replaced with a similar head sewn together in a Frankenstein manner. Now, the FBI raided the Phoenix-based body donor facility back in 2014, and quite why it's taken 5 years for details to come forward is beyond me, after the allegations that the company was selling parts of those donated bodies for profit. You're going to hear a lot more of that, which is why it's in. Latest clown out of CNN and New York Times to spout utter drivel is Maggie Haberman. A quick look into her background shows a document was released by WikiLeaks that showed that the Clintons' campaign use of Haberman to place sympathetic stories for the Democrats in the Politico magazine. Haberman, born in New York, born to Jewish parents. Here's another example from the news item. Ukraine leader. Russian? Ukrainian? Zelensky, born January 1978 in Kryvyi Rih, Ukrainian SSR, to Jewish parents. Now, in the news story, it said he wouldn't work with the pro-Russian group. Of course he won't work with the pro-Russian group. He is another stooge, is why. And the Ukrainian people are being led down a dark path like many other of the former regions of Russia or Rus. Like all the states of the western side of Russia, all of that was Rus. The same applies to southern Russia. Most of the Istan countries, again, was all Rus until the Cohen Khan group took over and led them all a merry dance of lies and death. And Ukraine is the latest country to play divide and conquer games with, following Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, etc. But back in 1991 brought unprecedented changes. The fall of Russia. A lot more fell than just Russia on a wall. Because what changed is 15 countries were created just like Israel, out of thin air. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Ukraine and Uzbekistan. All of those are Rus countries and all part of Mother Russia. All broken up into manageable parcels for clowns to easier control, plus steal the resources from them. Zelensky is not Ukrainian or Russian. Another person of interest that popped up recently, and I'll give you some background of who she is, Ghislaine Maxwell, and links to Epstein. Now, her father was a famous mogul back in the UK, Robert Maxwell, who was also accused of being a pedophile many years back in the UK. But as with all media moguls and rich elite, it got squashed, a bit like Jimmy Savile, because Scotland Yard didn't have the bollocks to follow it through, is why. Now, Maxwell owned the Mirror Group newspapers. And then there was a mysterious boating accident, quote unquote. Some said suicide, some said murder, and some think he did a runner, as he was under investigation for stealing all the group's pension funds totaling $570 million, which after his death was mainly left to the British government to pay out the missing funds. Another bailout again using the people's money. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell moved to the United States in 1991, just after her father's alleged death. And Maxwell was photographed exiting the continent by luxury aircraft Concorde, which caused outrage amidst the pension scandal that was going back in the UK. Unsurprisingly, she quickly rose to prominence as a New York socialite. That place again. She then had a romantic relationship with the wealthy American financier Jeffrey Epstein back in 1992 and remained closely associated with Epstein for several decades afterwards. In a 2009 deposition, several of Epstein's household employees testified that Maxwell had a central role in both his public and private life, referring to her as Epstein's main girlfriend, who also handled the hiring, supervising and firing of staff starting around 1992. She was also being referred to as the Lady of the House by Epstein's staff, as his aggressive assistant, as she was called. Now, Maxwell had attracted interest in the press for her friendship with Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who attended social functions with her in New York. And Maxwell introduced Epstein to Prince Andrew, and the three often socialized together. Now, in 1995, Epstein renamed one of his companies the Ghislaine Corporation in Palm Beach, Florida. And in the year 2000, Maxwell moved into a 7,000 square foot townhouse less than 10 blocks from Epstein's mansion. Now, this townhome was purchased for $4.95 million by an anonymous limited liability company with an address that matched the office of J. Epstein & Co. Oops. Now, in recent years, Virginia Roberts, Sarah Ransom and Maria Farmer have filed lawsuits against Ghislaine. The first two of sexual procurement were awarded substantial damages against Maxwell. Now, the Maria Farmer case is ongoing and alleges that her and her 15-year-old sister were repeatedly molested by Epstein and also Ghislaine, which was reported to the FBI. Clearly, they ignored it. And again, actions against them who covered it up must also be filed. This could have been nipped in the bud a long time ago, and poor children could have been spared the abuse and whatever else they suffered. Now, Farmer's affidavit also stated that during the same summer, Epstein flew her then 15-year-old sister to his New Mexico property where he and Maxwell molested her on a massage table. Ghislaine Maxwell, born in the UK, born to a Jewish parent. Father Robert, Jewish, and was also a Mossad agent. Boris Johnson, born in New York, and despite his denial, born to Jewish parents. How else would he have gained a job so far above his pay grade? The answer is the same as America. He pandered to the whims of the Zionists. Let's put somebody else under the spotlight, shall we? Sigal P. Mandelker, an American lawyer and government official who currently serves as Under Secretary of Treasury for Terrorism and Finance, born in Israel to Jewish parents. But significantly, she's a member of the New York City, New York State, and American Bar Associations. Why is this important? Because Mandelker is the one pushing Iran sanctions. Connecting the dots now. Two more pieces of sub-intel, and we get into some of the what's going on intel. There's not that much, but there is a piece that I have included in the intel because I think it's important and something of grave concern that has to be implemented if we're going to fix things properly. So now we've had the latest instalment of the Mueller saga, 2.5 years on, and still no mass arrests or actual evidence of all these thousands of indictments, just chatter and more chatter with zero actions of any sort of substance. The country is bankrupt, and all they argue over is who is more corrupt than the other. Because that is the reality. And I would say the people deserve better. But the majority are either not interested or just participating in arguing over this circus act called American politics. We have to get smarter. Final sub-intel. 2 Democratic US senators will unveil a bill today to curb climate change by slapping a fee on oil, natural gas and coal and delivering most of the revenues, it is said, to low and middle income Americans. Senator Chris Coons said on Wednesday that he and Senator Dianne Feinstein, will introduce the Climate Action Rebate Act, which aims to generate $2.5 million in revenues over 10 years, starting in 2020. And it stated it will rebate about 70% of the money to families that make less than $130,000 per year and use the rest of the energy for infrastructure, job retraining for fossil fuel workers, research and development. And if you believe that steaming pile of bullshittery, you'll believe anything, literally. The real news behind that is they are pushing the Mr. Pelosi-backed Green Deal. The Pelosi stand to make millions on that Green Deal. And this is how these clowns work. It will only deliver loads of funds to specific clown entities. And like the Holocaust Museum in New York, it will spend it on themselves and their cronies. Period. Climate change. Load of nonsense.